Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report, and today's range report is on another beautiful firearm from my favorite firearms manufacturer, B&T. Yeah, take a look at this. Another firearm from the APC series, or the Advanced Police Carbine. This is the APC300, so it is chambered in 300 Blackout. I recently did a range report on the APC223, and unfortunately, it wasn't as nice as I was hoping. I mean, the gun was built fantastic, but I did have a few issues with it. One of them being the heat and the lack of heat dissipation. So I'm hoping I'm not going to have the same issue with this gun, but it's a very similar firearm. So we're going to have to see what happens in this range report. But before I get into the things that I like and don't like about this gun, I always want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this beautiful firearm. Once again, it's coming from the collection of my good friend and local subscriber, D. So D, thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you lend these to the channel. I want to thank my Patreons as always, because through their monthly donation and support, they help keep the lights on around here, helping me buy equipment to keep this content coming to you. And as always, my primary sponsor for every range report, who provides all of the ammunition, my good friend from Brown Works. His name is Mark. Now, Mark is a master craftsman. He is an artist. He makes some of the best and finest wood grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. I know that I'm rolling in pictures of some of his finest work right now. Now, if you own a gun like a 1911, a Beretta 92, or a CZ, go over there to his website, see what he has to offer. You can upload custom logos, custom etchings. He can put on special textures, finish them in a wide variety of colors. He can make heirloom quality grips for the special guns of your collection. And maybe you're here because you like sporting rifles like this one. Well, this is actually legally a pistol, but you're not interested in wood grips. Well, he also has another service that may interest you, and that is putting on custom logos onto things like PMAG. So here's the Texas Gun Vault logo on a PMAG 30. Isn't that really cool? So who knows, maybe you want a Texas Gun Vault logoed magazine. Well, he can make them for you. After all, putting a Texas Gun Vault logoed magazine on a gun like a B&T, well, that's a match made in heaven, isn't it? Well, please go over and check out Brown Works. I'm going to put a link in the description and as a pinned comment. I will also put a discount code for 10% off your first order. And if you don't find what you're looking for over there, please contact Mark. I guarantee you he will hook you up. He has great customer service. And when you do, tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about what this particular firearm is. You guys are here to talk about the APC, the Advanced Police Carbine, chambered in 300 Blackout. So this is a rifle calibered version of their famous APC line. So this does not just use straight blowback. This actually has a rotating bolt, but it also uses that famous buffer system that goes into pretty much every B&T firearm. So you have a locking mechanism and a hydraulic buffer. So this is supposed to be a pretty soft shooting firearm. It also has an 8.7-inch barrel, which is about the perfect length for a gun chambered in 300 Blackout. Now, will this gun run subsonic? Well, a lot of people ask me, why do I test subsonic ammo unsuppressed on some of my other range reports? Well, before we get into the range report, I want to explain why I do that. I will always devote one section to it because sometimes people, when they buy guns like something chambered in 300 Blackout, well, they might not know the difference between super and subsonic. You would expect them to, especially if they're buying a fine gun like this, but not everybody knows the difference. You would be really surprised about the people that I talk to. Another thing that I like to test with that subsonic ammo is what happens if we're in some type of great ammo crunch and you just can't get 300 Blackout, but your local gun store has some subsonic. And maybe you live in a state where you're not allowed to own a suppressor, or you can't get one in this caliber. It happens to some people. Some people can buy this gun, but not own a suppressor. And for those people, it's good to know, well, in a pinch, can you run subsonic ammunition? And I think testing it out on this gun is going to be really important, but we're going to do that a little bit later. But let's talk about the things that I like and don't like about this particular firearm. And first and foremost, it's a B&T. It's going to have quality written all over it. Let me give you another close-up of this fine firearm. And as always, I always talk about the finish of these guns. That aluminum upper receiver just mates up perfectly with that polymer lower. It looks like it's almost the same material. I am always blown away by the machining and the finish on all of these B&T guns. Another thing I like about this particular pistol is the telescoping stock. I love telescoping braces in stocks. I know I use the term stock there, but yeah, actually this is a pistol. It does have the pistol brace, but if you SBR'd it, you could put a stock on this, and I absolutely love the designs of these. Now these can get a little bit on the pricey side. I'm not really sure why, but they look really cool. I love the fact that this one has the Gen 2 lower, so it has the removable AR-15 style grip. So if you don't like the ones from B&T, you can replace it with a Magpul or something you like, but personally I think the ones from B&T are fantastic. The controls are very much like that of an AR-15. The only thing that I don't like about the controls is the slide release or the bolt release, which you have to push down versus push in. I'm just used to that ping pong paddle style on AR-15s. But as I said, that's the only thing about the controls that I'm not a big fan of. And last but not least is the buffer system. Every B&T firearm has a hydraulic buffer in it. Now I think the reason that this came about was because they're primarily known for submachine guns and pistol caliber carbines that use straight blowback. And to have that hydraulic buffer system in there really dampens the recoil. But when you add it to a gun like this that has a locking mechanism like a rotating bolt, I think it's just fantastic. It's going to dampen that recoil even more. So now let's talk about a couple of things that I don't like. I've already told you one, having to push the slide lock, I know I keep calling it a slide lock, the bolt release down instead of in. It just kind of messes with my brain. I'm just so used to shooting AR-15s. Now on the Gen 1s, it was a push button. But the Gen 2s, they changed it for some reason. I'm sure there's some engineering reason, but it's just different muscle memory for me. And the other thing that I don't like is the reciprocating charging handle. Now, I'm not sure if they've come out with the Pro Series of the APC300 yet, and if the Pro Series is going to have a non-reciprocating charging handle. I know on the pistol calibered ones, they went from a reciprocating to a non-reciprocating, but because this has a gas piston system, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. I haven't looked into it that far. But they also offer a folding charging handle, which I think could be a lot nicer on this. But I can deal with the reciprocating charging handle because you can move it from either the left to the right side or back and forth depending on your personal style. So that's what I like and don't like. Let's get this thing to the range. Let's see how this thing shoots. I'm really going to be comparing it to the APC223. I'm curious if we're going to have some heat buildup. I'm curious how accurate this is, and being a shorter barrel and actually a little bit more balanced of a gun, how the recoil is going to be. So let's get to the range. I'm going to put one magazine through this thing first at 10 yards, 20 rounds. Let's just see how this thing performs. Well, I think the results of that test speak volumes. Man, this gun shoots really well for me. I think the trigger in this is a little bit better than the one I used in the APC223. Now, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be exactly the same trigger, but for some reason, this one feels a little bit better. I also noticed that the recoil of this gun is less than the APC223. Why is that? Not really sure. Obviously, it has something to do with caliber. It's the same mechanism. It just seems to be a little bit more soft shooting. To be honest with you, I didn't think I would like this gun as much as I do. After shooting the APC223, I was a little bit disappointed, I won't lie. And I kind of went into this range report going, this one can't shoot any better. Well, right now, I'm pleasantly surprised, so I'm excited to see where this one's going to go. I also noticed that this gun consistently ejects to the 4 o'clock position. I think every cartridge went exactly to the same spot, so that's pretty awesome. So let's now do what I call the accuracy portion. No, I'm not going to bench rest it. I just want to take the target out to about twice the distance, 20-25 yards, put another 20 rounds to this thing, just see if I can still shoot it accurately, see if this group is going to open up, and how I shoot at a longer distance. So let's do that and see what happens. And this gun is just as accurate. I'm super impressed. Something I'm noticing compared to the APC223 is I'm not getting a lot of heat buildup. With the APC223, after 40 rounds, this little trunnion area up here at the front of the receiver was getting kind of hot. It's a little bit warm, but way better. So I like that about this gun a lot more. Well, so far this gun is winning me over. But now I'm curious what my wife's gonna think. You guys know I always like to put her in every range report. First off, she's a little bit more easy on the eyes than I am. But she's also a different type of shooter than I am. She has different size hands. She's shorter, which, by the way, these telescoping braces you can adjust for length of pull if you need. So we did shorten it up for her, and she appreciates that. And she did not like shooting the APC223, but I'm liking this one. I'm curious if her opinion is going to be any different with this particular gun. So let's find out. And by the way, did you like that target? My wife is a big fan of bacon, so every time they have those little hog targets at the range, she always wants to use those. I'm not a hunter, she's not a hunter, but I think she does want to go out and try to take some boar sometime. But we always joke about the bacon targets, but she shot it really well, very accurate. She likes the fact it's not getting hot, and now we're at 60 rounds, and it's still comfortable to touch. She also noticed that when you're behind the firearm, it's nowhere near as loud or concussive as you are when you are to the side. So when you're filming this gun being shot, you can definitely feel it. But behind the gun, it's really soft shooting. It doesn't seem to be as loud or concussive. So she liked that pretty well, and she shot it well. So overall, she liked it. And now we're going to move on to what I call the defensive use or the competitive use of this firearm. Now remember, I am not a competitive shooter. The philosophy of this channel is to review guns from the perspective of an average gun guy. But I do these tests anyway as an average gun guy. So if I can do them fast or do them well, somebody that is in the competitive world could probably do it a lot better. So I want to just do this, see if I can drop this magazine, get a fresh one in, get the gun back in action. Now the last time I shot the APC223, one of my complaints was the magazine doesn't necessarily fall out very quick. It's doing that here on the bench, but when you have the gun at certain angles, sometimes I have to strip those mags a little bit quicker to get them out of the way. So I'm curious if this is going to have the same issue as the APC223. So let's just see how fast I can do this. Now you may have noticed I did that magazine change pretty fast, but I still had to strip this magazine out. It didn't drop free, or drop free as fast as I would like. It's just something that I think you would have to overcome and be aware of if you're going to use this gun for some type of self-defense or competition shooting. I just like it when those magazines just fly out of there really fast. I'm not sure if it's because it's a polymer lower, rubbing up against a polymer magazine, like materials. Not 100% sure. But man, can I shoot this gun fast. This is a fantastic trigger. I think I'm more impressed by that than the quick magazine change. I also really like the fact that I can get this gun back on target really quick. As you saw from that target, even though I was shooting as fast as I possibly could, all targets were on the silhouette. I didn't think I was going to like this super short barrel, but it really balances this gun really well. So I think it's just the right length for this. But speaking about shooting this trigger fast, well, I gotta do a quick mag dump before we move on to the subsonic ammo test. So I have a little bit of supersonic left, I think 15 or 20 rounds, and this trigger can go fast. So I'm just curious, how fast can I pull this trigger? I don't know about you, but I think I can shoot this thing pretty darn fast. This is an outstanding trigger, just amazing right out of the box, and like the previous test, all those rounds were right on target. So this gun makes me look like I'm a way better shot than I actually am. This is just so much fun to shoot, and I'm very impressed by it. And now after all of these rounds, what are we getting up to? About 80 to 100 rounds just on the footage alone? And I can still touch that trunnion. It's not getting so hot it hurts like the 223 version. So I'm really starting to like this. So this is everything about the APC series in a rifle caliber that I like. And one of the big detractions that I didn't like about the other one isn't in this gun. So I'm really falling in love with this. All right, so let's do the subsonic ammo test. Now, the owner of this gun, D, said he has been unsuccessful in doing so. I've already laid out my case for why I like to test the gun doing this. I know a lot of you go, well, if you're not going to run it with a suppressor, running subsonic is silly. I totally agree, but you have to put yourself in the position of other gun owners. Maybe somebody that's not informed, that just buys whatever 300 Blackout they see on the shelf, aren't thinking about velocity. Or maybe you're in that ammo crutch, that crisis that we all know comes from time to time when things get banned or gun control is being passed. And maybe all you can find is 300 Blackout. Wouldn't it be nice to know if the gun you own that maybe you don't have a suppressor for, or you can't buy a suppressor for because of where you live, well, is that 300 subsonic gonna work? I think it's a valid test. I'm only going to load up about 6 rounds in this magazine. I'm not expecting it to cycle, and I should say this adjustable gas block is fully open. Now, I do think you could possibly run Subsonic in this gun if the dwell time was longer. So the gas block is right here, the end of the barrel is right here, so you don't really have a lot of time for that pressure to build up behind the projectile. So maybe if this was a true carbine and you had a 16-inch barrel, it might cycle. But being the fact that it's so short, I don't think it is. So I think I'm going to have to manually cycle these. So let's see how I do. I believe the velocity on these S&B projectiles is supposed to be around 960 feet per second. So that's really, really slow. It'd be great with a suppressor, but I don't have one for this. But let's just see if it cycles anyway and see what happens. And as expected, it didn't run. Now, as I mentioned in the past, I've had other 300 Blackout pistols that the Subsonics did work without a suppressor. I think it's just worth noting in case you have this particular gun, looking at this gun, and you have to know your situation with the type of ammo that you have. Maybe you're a reloader, and maybe you can't own a suppressor where you live. It's just data points that are worth knowing. So don't criticize the review. I try to make these for everybody from an average gun guy's perspective. So what do I think? What are my final thoughts on this amazing little pistol? Well, I'm going to flat out tell you, I like this one a lot better than I do the APC223. For a lot of the reasons that I've already mentioned. It's not getting hot up here at the front. The gun is really accurate. It has a fantastic trigger. You can get this gun back on target. It's a more balanced gun. I actually think the longer barrel looks a little bit nicer. That 12-inch barrel definitely has a better look to it and aesthetic to it, but this shorter barrel when you're shooting is just more balanced. And I really think owning one of these and probably SBRing it, putting on a real stock would be the way to go. This would be a pretty ultimate CQB defensive weapon, a home defense weapon, especially, as I said, if you can SBR it. If not, these little pistol braces work great. I'm really impressed with the function of this gun, with the accuracy. Yeah, only just some small gripes. As I said, that reciprocating charging handle, that's really about it, and maybe that bolt release, having to push that down instead of in. That's it. Such small concerns. This gun has impressed me. I did not think that I would like it after shooting the APC223, but the 300 version of this is outstanding. I think it's better than the 223. So it has changed my mind on the rifle caliber B&T firearms. So on my star system, how would I rate the APC300? Well, I am going to give this 4.75 stars out of 5. Almost a perfect review. It definitely exceeded my expectations. Very, very impressed with this. Yeah, I think this one is absolutely worth the high dollar that you will pay for this. I mean, these things are not cheap. They are well-built pieces of machinery, but I don't think on this one you would be disappointed. And I think the 300 Blackout is just a better cartridge for this type of gun and mechanism. It just works better than a 5.56. So very impressed with this gun. Absolutely love it. It's beautiful, well built, 4.75 stars out of 5. So what do you guys think? Do you have any interest in these rifle calibered B&T firearms? I really didn't going into this review, but this one changed my mind. I absolutely love it. So thank you, Dee, for lending it to the channel, and I'm sure glad I got to shoot it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. I would love to know your thoughts. So, as always, Thanks for watching.
What'd you think?
Bacon.
Bacon. That's what I'm talking about.